Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our third Opportunity SD webinar. We're really excited about this one. We are here in San Diego with Eric Morrison-Smith, myself, Laura Cohn, and Andy Hall, and we'll be joined partway through by our guests from McDonald's, including Marianne Marola. And our topic for today is job quality for youth. So let's start. Go ahead to the next slide. Here's how we're going to approach the webinar today. We're going to start with just some background on what job quality is and what we see as the link between youth disconnection and job quality. And then McDonald's will share an investment in job quality that they're making because they're such a major employer of young adults in our community, across the nation, and across the world. And then finally, Eric Morrison-Smith will share some opportunities that we all have for taking action to improve young adults' access to job quality. Andy Hall, our colleague, will moderate questions at the end. So there are two ways that you can participate in the webinar along the way. One is by offering questions in the question box by the side of the webinar there. But also, and those will come directly to us and we'll answer them at the end. In addition, you can put comments in the chat box so you can interact with one another along the way during the webinar. And I'll hold on for us to get the slides going.
Technology.
Sorry, everybody. Please hold. Sorry about this. Okay. There we go. And let's go ahead to the next slide. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with what we mean by job quality for youth. Go ahead. But before we get into that, we always want to start any presentation about opportunity youth with a reminder about what opportunity youth are, what we mean by that term. So opportunity youth are young people, 16 to 24-year-olds, who are in the process of making that journey from age 16 to 24, from high school to the workforce. They are not working and, not or, they are not in school. And what we learned at the end of the last Opportunity Summit in the talk by Maureen Conway from Aspen Institute, she shared with us that there's a really strong linkage between the lack of job quality that young people often experience and the phenomenon of opportunity youth or youth disconnection. So we thought with this webinar, we would go more deeply into that idea, explore it, and then take it to the next step of like, what can we collectively do to improve job quality for young people? So our starting idea is we want to share what we see as some key features of job quality, and these are true for any age worker. So starting on the left, wages and benefits. That's the most basic idea. How high are your wages? And do you have access to really important benefits like the ones listed at the bottom of the slide? Sometimes workers would like to have more hours, and so hours is another way of having more wages, but in general, we're just talking about the typical wages and benefits. Second category is in scheduling. So entry-level positions often have very unpredictable schedules. Often workers don't know what their schedule is going to be until a few days before or the day before they're supposed to show up for work. And as we'll talk about later, if you don't know your schedule, then it's really a struggle to fit in education or even childcare along the side of your job. A third category is education supports. So some employers are supporting young workers to complete their high school education, obtain degrees or certificates, or get their higher education done. And that's another way of adding quality to an entry level or early career position. And finally, another really key category for job quality is engagement. So in your job, do you feel like you're part of a team, that you're part of a mission, that you're trusted, that you have some autonomy, and that you have some purpose in your job every day? And when we have those features to our jobs, I know that's very important to me in my work, that helps us feel more committed to our work, more loyal to our employer, and we tend to stick around longer in those jobs. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about job quality. And when we think about young workers in particular and their access to job quality, we may sometimes forget that they are often heads of their own households. They are living independently, and also commonly, especially among our opportunity youth, they have people who are depending on them for support. They have either their own children and own nuclear family, or they have their dependencies among their extended family. And so for young workers, the quality of job can be extremely critical for them for survival. So go on to the next slide. So what we also know is that quality jobs, while they are good for workers, and that's certainly the case, they're also really good for employers. There's a traditional model that says that if you get your personnel costs as low as possible, then you'll have the highest possible profits. And that might be true, but there's another way of thinking about it, especially in this time we're having in the country right now, and particularly in San Diego, with extremely low unemployment, that says that if you invest in the quality of the jobs for your workers, you can see increased returns. You'll have better recruitment, better retention, you'll have to spend less money on training your workers, and you'll get higher productivity for them as a result of their sense of loyalty and commitment to you as an employer. So that's another perspective on job quality that we think is really important, and because of the health of the economy, it's a good time to have this conversation. So what's the ideal when we think about young people on this passage from school into the workforce, and what's our expectation about their experience of job quality? Well, we understand that most 16-year-olds, we hope all 16-year-olds are in high school, and so if they're working, they're doing so part-time. But we want them to evolve to full-time if that's what they want, and most will by age 24. At age 16, we anticipate that most workers at that age will be earning minimum wage, but by the time they're 24 and living on their own as an adult, we want them to be earning a living wage that will help them cover their living expenses like rent and food and other critical items for themselves and their families. And finally, it makes sense that at a minimum wage entry-level job part-time, that benefits would be fairly minimal for 16-year-olds, but by the time our workers get to be age 24, we want them to have access to a full suite of benefits that support them and round out their ability to live independently and start to acquire wealth and comfort and security. But the reality that we know is true for many young workers is that they are staying in low wage, unpredictable hour or dead end jobs that don't allow them to make that journey to that utopia. And when young workers are in these jobs that are relatively low quality, they are more likely to have bouts of unemployment, and they're also more likely to get discouraged. And these are big contributors to the phenomenon of disconnected youth in our community and across the nation and the world. So one last item that we want to offer as framing for the conversation is that as we all know and we all experience in our first jobs, many young people are working in these industry sectors, the retail, hospitality, and food service sectors. In fact, 45% of 16 to 24-year-old workers across the nation are working in these sectors, compared to just 21% of 25 to 34-year-olds. And these are the jobs that tend are more likely to be minimum wage or near minimum wage, more likely to be part-time and therefore not benefited, and generally less likely to offer career advancement and progression, although there is that available for some. And what we see is opportunity for jobs in these sectors to become more like springboard jobs, jobs that are great first jobs that give young people a chance to make a leap into a career that gets them to that job utopia we talked about before. So employers can support young workers in developing a work ethic and work habits, developing customer service skills that carry over to lots of other contexts and lots of other jobs. For some, they can stay in these fields and move forward into management positions or to other parts of the sector. And they can offer mentorship and education support as well to help these jobs to become more springy. And so with that idea, we'd like to introduce our guests from McDonald's. Marianne Marola is going to be the primary speaker. She's going to talk about an investment that McDonald's is making in job quality that we'd like our audience to hear about, but especially to hear about why McDonald's has made this investment. So Marianne, welcome to the webinar.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
We can.
Wonderful. So, hi, I'm Marianne Marola with McDonald's. I'm very excited to get to share with you a little bit about Archways to Opportunity, our education strategy today. I do want to mention at the end, I'm happy to take questions. I also have my colleague, Katie Condon here. Katie is the Director of U.S. Public Affairs, and she's happy to chat with you at the end as well about any questions you might have about McDonald's and our broader programs and policies. So having said that, let's go ahead and dive in so we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So I mentioned Archways to Opportunity. That is the term that we use to describe our overarching education strategy. So our vision at McDonald's is to lead the industry in promoting workforce education, both to support the business as well as to support our employees, their success and their advancement. We think that education is a true game changer. It's an investment in our people that we see paying dividends both today as well as well into the future. And when it comes to Archways to Opportunity, one thing we realized is that there is no one size fits all. When we're talking about 14,000 restaurants, when we're talking about all the people who work in that, everyone has different needs in terms of their education. With Archways to Opportunity, we are about meeting people at their point of need. So we're not trying to paste in one education program that's going to work for everyone. Instead, we're looking to figure out what are people's education needs and how can we meet them. So let's unpack that. Let's go into a little bit of detail. But first, I do want to mention, Laura, I think you alluded to this a minute ago. Why are we doing this? Why is McDonald's interested in education of the people who work in our restaurants? And there's a lot of reasons, right? One of them is strengthening the business, right? Any large business needs a good talent pipeline. Well, if we have more educated, more confident folks working in the restaurants, then we get a better talent pipeline. So it's kind of a win-win. It's a win for the employees as well as for leadership and as well as for getting that strong talent pipeline. We also see improving retention as a big deal. And I think Laura, you mentioned this earlier. Any company when unemployment is pretty low, you need to get you need to improve recruitment. You need to get potential employees in the door, and you need to retain them. You need to retain them and get your turnover down. So that is a huge win for the business and as well as a win for the employee. We also see this as a way to drive employee capability. And one thing that I really like about Archways as well is that it just helps us tell a good story to a broad range of stakeholders. And I think we're gonna chat a little bit about exactly what we mean by that. But let's go ahead and talk about so with Archways to Opportunity, there are 4 major components. You can see we have little images on the screen to kind of describe the 4 components, but let's delve into the details. Let's talk. I said it's so we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So since I said it's not one size fits all, let's talk about, well, what exactly do you mean and what is this program all about? So the first component of Archways to Opportunity is what we call English Under the Arches. Sometimes I might abbreviate it by saying EUA, but English Under the Arches. What that is English as a second language classes for the employees in our restaurants. So, when it comes to the restaurant workforce, we know that the folks need to learn the English language. There's lots of people working in hospitality who need to improve their English skills, both to help them interact with their fellow coworkers, as well as to help them interact with customers. And obviously, like I mentioned a minute ago, talent pipeline to help them move up in their careers, to be able to be an assistant manager, a manager, maybe a director of operations someday. So if they can get that solid foundation and really learn the English language, that can help. So with English Under the Arches, we've actually had it for 11 years at McDonald's, and there's 4 different classes. So there are 4 different English as a second language classes. They range from 8 weeks to 22 weeks. The learnings of these classes, it's ESL in the context of working at a McDonald's restaurant. So we contextualize it. We did that because we knew it would help people remember the learnings better. Sometimes if you're learning a foreign language in context of doing something you do every day, that's going to help you retain the knowledge better. So we have a contextualized ESL program, 4 different levels. We do use a hybrid delivery model, which means for each of those 4 classes, at several points they meet face-to-face, and at several other points they meet virtually. But it's always the same group going through it together as a cohort. So it might be 15 people from 3 or 4 different restaurants going through the class together as a cohort for those 8 to 22 weeks. They take every online class together, they take the face-to-face classes together, they graduate together, and needless to say, we have a very positive impact on retention. Generally speaking, people who go through English Under the Arches are so happy to have this great chance to learn English as a second language that they tend to become very, very loyal to McDonald's and to stay with us a long time. So we can go on to the next one, but that was our foundation. So English Under the Arches, that's our foundation. It's our first major component of Archways to Opportunity. Second major component is the Career Online High School. Before I started working in this area, I had no idea how many adult Americans did not have a high school diploma. I know the numbers vary depending on what you're looking at, but I think a lot of studies will show, if you're looking at people 25 and older, that there's about 38 million adult Americans who don't have a high school diploma. We know many of them work in the hospitality industry. So we were thrilled to learn that Smart Horizons is the name of the nation's first online high school district, and they offer the Career Online High School, COHS, the Career Online High School. It is a high school completion program. At the end of the program, a graduate gets a high school diploma, not a GED, but a high school diploma and a career certificate. The program is designed for working age adults. It is done online, 100% online, and it's self-directed. So people are going to go through it at their own pace. One of the greatest things about it is the coach. There is an education coach to help people get through this, help them with the learnings. We know that lack of support is one reason why people drop out of high school. So this program very specifically has a coach to help with that. Of the 422 McDonald's restaurant folks who have graduated from the Career Online High School, they all rave about how much the coach helped them. So, and also in this program, the students gain real-world career skills. The class content is adult-focused. It's a vocational high school. It takes about 12 to 14 months on average. And the way we do this at McDonald's is we cover 100% of the cost. The eligibility, it's pretty simple. Somebody needs to work at a McDonald's restaurant for at least 90 days. So work at McDonald's for at least 90 days. Work at least an average of 15 hours per week, so 15 hours per week, and be in good standing. Once somebody meets that requirement, they can go into the Career Online High School. McDonald's corporate pays all the costs. And like I mentioned, we are at 422 graduates, 422 people working in McDonald's restaurants who've gotten a high school diploma through this program. I had the chance to go to several graduation ceremonies, and there's not a dry eye in the house once somebody graduates from here. So that's the Career Online High School. We can go ahead to the next component of Archways to Opportunity. And the next component is college. You can probably imagine, right? We think of it as building blocks, right? We learned the English language. We've graduated from high school. Next component is college. So we've always offered tuition assistance to managers at company-owned restaurants, but we were very happy a few years ago to be able to roll out college tuition assistance at both sides, franchised and company-owned restaurants. In fact, every aspect of Archways to Opportunity applies to both franchised as well as company-owned restaurants. So we're very happy about that. So with the college tuition assistance, a couple key things. Number one is that eligible employees can use the college tuition assistance at any accredited college. And we see that as very important. So as long as the college is accredited, you can use your tuition assistance dollars there. Some people enjoy going to a local community college. Others want to do an online college or a big university. It doesn't matter, as long as it's accredited, you can use it there. And that's good, because some folks working in our restaurants are high school seniors. Others are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old and want to go back and get that college degree. So we provided maximum choice and flexibility in terms of where you use your college tuition assistance at. The other great thing that we love is we were able to drastically increase the amount that we're providing for college tuition assistance. So as of May 1st of this year, crew employees, that would be part-time people working in our restaurants, they're eligible for $2,500 each calendar year of college tuition assistance. So think of it, a pot of money, $2,500 each calendar year. As long as you're eligible for another $2,500 of tuition assistance. And then full-time managers for $3,000 a year of college tuition assistance. And then another thing that we're doing in the college umbrella is that we have partnerships with colleges. So of course, as I mentioned, you can use tuition assistance at any accredited college, but we did make a few partnerships to give people some more choices and to give them some more value in terms of college tuition assistance. So for example, we have 4 partners. One of them is Colorado Tech University. They are an online college, and they are providing to McDonald's employees a 43% tuition discount, a free laptop. They are waiving all of their fees. So for the vast majority, between that and the money from Archways to Opportunity, that we have literally hundreds of McDonald's folks who are attending Colorado Tech University and paying $0 out of pocket. So to me, that's, my dream is always that moms will say to their kids, hey, I want you to work at a McDonald's restaurant, put in 15 hours a week, be there for at least 90 days, and you can enroll in Colorado Tech University and be paying $0 out of pocket. And that's nothing to sneeze at in terms of how expensive college can be. So that is in a nutshell, the college umbrella of Archways. So if we want to go ahead then go to the next slide. So the 4th major component of Archways to Opportunity is education advising. So, and I think this is just such a valuable aspect as well. Think of how many Americans either attended a high school where there either was no education counseling, or the education advisor counselor was overwhelmed with a high number of students to support. Think of how many Americans have nobody in their family who graduated college. Well, wouldn't it be great if those folks had access to advising? We partnered with a national nonprofit. It's called CAL, that's the Council for Adult and Experiential Learning, CAEL, national nonprofit. They are dedicated to helping Americans realize their education goals. We partner with them, and we provide free education advising in English or in Spanish as needed to folks who work in our restaurants. So anybody, crew, manager, anybody who works in a McDonald's restaurant and who is looking for some education advising, they can make an appointment to speak with an advisor on the phone. And it can be everything from, hey, I'm 42 years old, I took college classes 20 years ago, I never graduated. How do I get on a path to getting that college degree and doing it in a reasonable way? It can be, I just need help. What questions do I ask when I'm trying to pick a school? What do I look for? How do I make a good decision when it comes to picking a college? Anything to help folks with their education. That's what this service is for. So those really are the 4 umbrellas, the 4 categories of Archways to Opportunity. I think the last slide I have is this picture. This is from a graduation celebration I was at. I think we just need to go one more. There we go, perfect. Yeah, so this is from a graduation celebration I was at. Gloria and Dulcie are the 2 people who we see in the picture. And one of them graduated the Career Online High School. One of them graduated from Colorado Tech University. The franchise owner put on a huge celebration at the restaurant for them. And, it is great to see that this actually can impact people's lives. So with that, Laura, I believe I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Marianne. That was some excellent information. And for our audience, Marianne will be here. She's going to stick with us for the end because we're going to have some questions, okay? So I'm going to put you on mute, Marianne. All right, first thing, thank you so much for joining our 3rd Opportunity SD webinar. I'm getting ready to go over some local action zones, and these are basically issues that we can advocate for here in San Diego. to support our region's opportunity youth. Many of the things I'm getting ready to mention have already happened in other regions, so I know they could definitely happen here in San Diego. The first local action zone we're going to look at is in policy. This first one is a pretty big deal, and there's been a lot of national debate around it. It's actually minimum wage. San Diego has taken the lead on the minimum wage topic, and it looks like the state will follow suit. San Diego has committed to increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2023. Just last year, it might have been 2 years ago, we increased it to $11.50. And like I said, we plan to increase it to $15 by 2023. This is a big win for Opportunity Youth for a couple of different reasons. The biggest one, I think, is just once re-engaged with work, the increased wages allow young adults to cover their expenses, such as transportation, food, but also allows them to consider investing their time in job training and education. When the wages are low, Opportunity Youth really have to, work 2 to 3 jobs just to meet ends meet. But with this increased wages, it will allow Opportunity Youth to kind of focus on different areas of their life. The second policy that can help Opportunity Youth and ties into job quality is schedule predictability measures. And this isn't one that a lot of people necessarily talk about, but the people who are talking about it are saying that this is kind of like the next minimum wage debate. Schedule predictability measures would require employers to post the schedules of hourly employees to no less than 2 weeks ahead of time. Some of the consequences for irregular, unpredictable work schedules are greater work-family conflict, especially for Opportunity Youth with children. An unpredictable schedule can make it nearly impossible to plan for childcare and have that work-life balance. And there's also studies that show that unpredictable schedules could lead to increased stress, which is like the last thing that we want our Opportunity Youth going through, especially with all the barriers that are already impacting them. And again, this kind of ties back into that minimum wage part, but an inability to consider getting a second job. Not a lot of employers are willing to work with our Opportunity Youth so they can get second jobs. And if they're not necessarily sure what their schedule is going to be the next week, it could be really difficult to plan for that. So, schedule predictability measures can definitely help out with that. And another thing, like I said, it ties with minimum wage, is it's stopping Opportunity Youth from being able to re-engage in education. We know how important each additional year of post-secondary education is for lifetime earnings, and unpredictable schedules is not giving young adults the opportunity to reap those benefits. There are a couple of cities across the nation who have already taken some measures to do this. One example would be San Francisco. San Francisco enacted new protections for hourly workers in retail chain stores, restaurants, and hospitality, which are jobs that Opportunities usually work. And they require employers to provide more advance notice in setting and changing work schedules to make them more predictable. San Francisco even requires paying workers who have not received sufficient advance notice of last-minute schedule changes for a portion of their hours lost, for on-call hours, for being scheduled on split shifts, and for instances in which they are sent home before completing their assigned shifts. So San Francisco has done that. Seattle actually has some similar measures, and San Diego, being the leader that we are around the country, could take some of those measures as well. Lastly on this one, and this is one that I feel really strongly about, public job programs, or they're also known as youth summer employment programs. Some of you listening may have had the opportunity to work in one of these programs as a teenager, and some still exist, but the investment is much smaller now. In the 60s, during Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty, the federal government gave funds to state for summer jobs. Disadvantaged youth not only got subsidized jobs in libraries, governments, and schools, but they also received on-the-job training work experience, training on workplace environments, social and personal skill development, and assistance in finding and keeping employment. Now, clearly, these are all things that are extremely essential for preventing youth disconnection. But during the late 90s, funding has been tremendously decreased for these types of programs and has not been the same since. While these job programs don't always result in long-term success in terms of job quality, they introduced young adults as young as 16 to the world of work and helped them gain valuable experience. These summer programs are also known to reduce violence in historically disadvantaged communities because young adults who are not usually offered these same opportunities were now getting 8 weeks of work during the summer. And this was kind of like the same philosophy my mother used to share, but she constantly kept me busy throughout the summer, whether it was through sports or making me get a job, because she knew if I had too much free time on my hands, I would definitely get in trouble. And the studies show that this is true for most teenagers. So these programs are extremely important, and some cities across the nation still produce these opportunities, such as the One Summer Chicago program and Boston SYEP. But most of the funds are raised through philanthropy, with the hope that their local government will eventually make the investment into these summer youth employment programs to help young adults gain valuable work experience and reduce interactions with the criminal justice system. All right, so the next area that we're going to focus on is for our employers. Just give me 1 second. All right, I'm running a little short on time, so I'm going to hit some quick points on these local action zones related to employers. You heard Laura mention how quality jobs for young adults need some springiness to help jumpstart young adults' careers and lead to meaningful post-secondary degrees, certificates, and credentials. But most importantly, a living wage for our opportunity youth. Another area for improvement is career exploration and work-based learning. Career exploration and work-based learning is essential for young adults, and we need local employers who are willing to go into schools and do activities such as career panels and share their valuable experience with students in person or through live video. Many of our students K through 12 are not exposed to the world of work and don't know about the variety of careers they can get into. Our opportunity youth and low-income youth in particular lack social networks and only get exposed to what their parents, family members, and people in close proximity to them do for work. These career exploration opportunities can help young adults make informed decisions about their academic goals and future career. Ed Hidalgo is already doing some of this work in the El Cajon Valley School District and introducing students early on to the world of work. And when I say early on, I'm talking, kindergarten all the way through, their final year. And I just had the opportunity to hear Dr. Shirley Weber speak about a similar topic. And I think she said it best, and this isn't an exact quote, kind of paraphrasing, but she basically said, we need to stop forcing kids down certain paths because we think they're low achieving or that's what's best for them. Our job is to show them STEM, show them careers in CTE and so on, so that they can make the right decisions about their future. And she is absolutely correct. We need to expose students to the variety of opportunities, give them the best available information, and ensure that they have all the tools to make informed decisions about their future. We can support them on their path, but it's not our role to force any student down a particular path. This has not worked in the past, and it leaves too much room for bias. The next point is simple, and I'm not going to harp on it too much, but no more unpaid internships. The San Diego Workforce Partnership does not believe in unpaid work experience. These type of experience hurt low-income youth who can't afford to work for free, and just in general do not work in our current competitive global economy in the 21st century. So when you have the opportunity, advocate for all internships to be paid, and let's stop telling young adults they need to work for free to gain valuable experience. And this last point that I can't stress enough, and I'm a huge advocate for this, it's the importance of mentorship and career coaching. Organization mentorship can be a powerful tool for introducing young adults to a new organization. Simply pairing someone in a leadership role with an employee who's been working there for a while, simply pairing someone in a leadership role with a newer employee helps with retaining women and people from traditionally underrepresented communities and could contribute significantly to their development in leadership roles. Organization mentors can help opportunity youth learn how to play the game and move up in the organization. And it's one person they can lean on for support, which can really be the difference maker in them staying connected long-term and not fall back into disconnection. The final local action zone is actually focused on our youth developers. And I'm not really a youth developer, but we're kind of in that work, but I know a lot of you listening are. We mentioned the importance of giving young adults the information and tools so they can make informed decisions about their future. And youth developers have a responsibility to explain to young adults the importance of and how to identify quality jobs. Just a couple of examples we can do to help young adults understand the importance of schedule predictability and how finding a quality job with a predictable schedule can help them find balance and plan ahead. We could tell young adults about the employers who will help them further their education through job training, and in some instances, pay for their college. And lastly, we could help them identify jobs that offer health benefits, childcare, and have a positive work environment that retains employees, which is some of the stuff that Laura had mentioned earlier. And I just gotta say, as someone who's 25 and is still kind of new to the workforce, I don't fully understand my health benefits. So I know there are plenty of opportunity youth who need help from youth developers to understand these different features of quality jobs. Alrighty then, there are a couple of local action zones that we can get activated around. And here are a few more things you can expect from our Opportunity SD initiative. So as you can see, we got our African American Achievement Summit that we worked on with partners on, and our Opportunity Summit have passed. We are getting ready to wrap up our third Opportunity SD webinar on youth employment, but we are planning our final one to be in the winter, and it will be on labor force participation. Two pretty big events that are actually coming up in September. The first one being the 79th Assembly District Vocational Training and Apprenticeship Programs Career Expo. That's definitely a mouthful, but it's definitely also a great opportunity for young adults to just get exposed to the different opportunities within this field. It will be happening Thursday, September 27th at the Educational Cultural Complex from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if you know young adults that might be interested in that, make sure they get there. Another big one, and I'm really excited about this one, we are partnering with Rise San Diego and Connecting Hope for the first annual Hoops for Hope basketball tournament, which will be Saturday 29th at Lincoln High School. This will be a fun day of competitive basketball, entertainment, and most importantly, community building. We have our 8 teams confirmed, including the police department, fire department, Lincoln alumni, and the workforce partnership. And I may be a little bit too confident on this topic, but I have my money on the workforce partnership and Lincoln alumni playing in the championship game. Rumor is Peter Kallstrom is a Minnesota basketball legend. So come out on September 29th to find out for yourself. And I just want to throw out there this a reminder that all the proceeds for the events and the funds raised are going directly to CDC Connecting Hope, which is a grassroots organization that offers career readiness and job opportunities for justice evolved youth. All right, so I'm wrapping up my time and I'm getting ready to pass it over to Andy Hall for questions. If you learned something, go tweet about it and use the hashtag OpportunitySD. To receive action alerts and other important communications related to this initiative to lower youth disconnection in the region, go sign up at opportunitysd.org.